Chapter 2, Einstein, The Great Gaslight, Part 6 of the Dielectric Wars, Tesla Leak series. They turned a man into a myth, a patent clerk who scribbled nonsense on paper, wrapped it in equations and sold it as science. They crowned him the king of physics while burying the giants who actually touched the real forces of nature. This isn't a hit piece, it's an exhumation. A full exposure of how Albert Einstein wasn't a genius. He was a distraction, a manufactured messiah whose theories stalled physics for over a century. Einstein didn't revolutionize science, he hijacked it. He replaced substance with abstraction, fields with fantasy, and real-world engineering with math-fiction illusions. This is the autopsy of the Einstein myth and the restoration of what was stolen: reality, ether, and the lost clarity of field-based physics. The real history of physics didn't begin with equations. It began with experimentation and the direct observation of phenomena. From the 1800s to the early 1900s, the field-based paradigm reigned supreme. The titans of that time weren't theorists in ivory towers. They were experimentalists, tinkerers, builders, engineers of the unseen. Michael Faraday mapped the field, James Clerk Maxwell formalized it, Oliver Heaviside and Charles Steinmetz refined it, but Nikola Tesla lived it. His experiments in Colorado Springs, his longitudinal wave transmissions, his dielectric field discoveries, all were rooted in physical interaction with the ether. He didn't imagine physics, he built it. Tesla's breakthroughs made one thing clear: energy, inertia, and motion are conditions of the medium, not properties of particles. Yet this paradigm was wiped off the map, not by evidence, by propaganda. The myth of Einstein replaced the method of Tesla. No symbol in modern science is more quoted, less understood, and more weaponized than E=mc2. This wasn't a revelation, it was a redirection, and it redefined physics, not to expand it, but to contain it. The equation is dimensional bookkeeping. Energy, mass, and the square of the speed of light are dimensional variables. Multiplying mass by the square of the speed of light gives you a unit of energy, that's all. But this conversion lacks a mechanism. What is mass? What is energy? What causes the transformation? What medium mediates it? No answers, just symbols. This was not science, it was numerology. The public was taught this equation like scripture. But it had no empirical base beyond dimensional consistency. It made mass and energy seem interchangeable, which gave rise to all kinds of absurd conclusions: that matter could appear from nowhere or vanish into abstract energy, that the vacuum could produce particles, that the universe could inflate from a point. Let's be very clear, Tesla rejected this entirely. He called it an illusion, a mathematical shell game. Tesla saw mass not as condensed energy, but as a secondary phenomenon, resistance to dielectric acceleration. In his model, mass is inertial tension in the ether. It's a relational effect, not a substance. E=mc² erases cause? Where is the field in this equation? Where is the medium? Where is the structure? There is none. The equation implies mass and energy are isolated quantities that transform magically without reference to a substrate. This violates the most basic principle of physical causality. Tesla's system did the opposite. Energy was a condition, a specific arrangement of electric and magnetic tension. Motion was a gradient caused by differences in dielectric potential. Inertia was field resistance, not a property of objects, but of space reacting to motion. Einstein's equation froze physics into abstraction. The deeper implication of E=mc² was not its dimensional conversion, it was its role as a gatekeeper. It implied that energy could only be extracted from mass via nuclear processes. This justified massive investment in nuclear weapons and centralized power structures. It cut off the exploration of ambient field energy. It made Tesla's discoveries into taboo. This was not science, it was strategy. By replacing a field-based understanding of energy with a particle-based equation, the controllers of science were able to limit public imagination. They moved the conversation away from ubiquitous field dynamics to rare and dangerous fission reactions. Tesla's radiant energy receivers, labeled pseudoscience, vacuum energy concepts, marginalized. All because of an equation that offered no physical explanation, just institutional control. What Einstein's equation didn't explain, it didn't explain how motion arises from stillness, it didn't explain how inertia is generated, it didn't explain how energy is stored in space, it didn't explain what space is. And that's the point. It wasn't supposed to explain, it was supposed to replace. Tesla said, "Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality." He was talking about Einstein. Tesla's model had working prototypes, grounded transmitters, atmospheric resonators, diagrams with capacitive geometries. Einstein's model had blackboards, chalk, and peer-reviewed applause. One touched reality, the other sold illusion. The equal-sign MC2 is the cornerstone of abstraction. It allowed physics to drift into quantum mysticism, to ignore the medium, and to adopt the Copenhagen model of uncertainty over coherence. It marked the point where observation was declared unknowable, and knowledge was replaced with models. This isn't a debate, this is an indictment. The evidence is not missing, it's ignored. Einstein's defenders will point to particle accelerators and nuclear bombs as proof, but these are not validations of E equals mc squared as a physical law. They are validations of energy transfer through field gradients, exactly what Tesla described without needing to reify mass as condensed energy.
Breaking news.
This equation has become a cultural icon, but icons don't build generators. Equations don't create coherence. And abstraction doesn't move us closer to reality. Only Tesla did that, and that's why they buried him.